Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Saleem.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, Dr. Saleem, these days there's a really hot topic going on, and that is criminalizing abortion. Now, what it says that, especially if we just talk about Pakistan right now, our law is clear that only if the fetus is a danger to the life of a mother, at that time she can get it aborted. Otherwise, for any reason, for example, she doesn't feel it psychologically, for example, that she wants to have a child, if she does it, it's going to be a crime because fetus is given the same status as a human. So this means that we are directing women who are to carry the weight of a child for 9 months and everything, that we will instruct you what you're going to do with your bodies and how you're going to deal with it, and you cannot control it. So is this fair, even in the light of Islam, or humanitarianly?
You see, the basic question that has created a lot of dispute and a lot of furor has arisen regarding the issue of abortion. It's not in the Muslim world, it's all over the world. I mean, the Christians, we know, the Roman Catholics, for them, as soon as a child is conceived, it's virtually out of the question that you abort, because that would be considered as killing the child. So we have this issue of abortion. It's all over the world. So my understanding of the Quran and of Hadith, the way it has been put forth to me by my elders and my teachers, is that we have to understand that in the first 4 months, of pregnancy, and this is something that is borne out by the Quran and explicitly said by a Hadith, which says that the spirit or the soul is blown into that organic mass, which is the fetus, after 4 months. Which means that it becomes a human being after 4 months. Before that, he's somewhat of a pre-human. I mean, he's still of a humanoid, he's a human form. But because the soul has yet to be blown, so therefore, for any reason, you can abort the child. And this is the view of a lot of jurists as well. And I subscribe to it also. I think for any valid reason, it could be your own personal discomfort that you're not in a position to raise a new child. And then it could be the most telling of all reasons, which is a girl has gotten raped and she is conceived as a result of that. So that's an extreme form. But a much lesser reason would be that the mother she does not feel up to it to raise another child. She might have health issues. She might have time issues. The couple might have several issues. So for any such reason, if the child is aborted in the first 4 months of pregnancy, there should not be a problem. And only after 4 months have passed, now that child has become a human being. So even if tests reveal that the child has some abnormality, even then, it would not be right to abort, because that would amount to killing that child, because now he or she is a living being. Also, as you have said, then the only option should be in such a case that if the mother's health or life, in fact, is at risk, then should that abortion take place. But that is an option after 4 months. In the first 4 months, I think this is a I would say, discretion that a couple can exercise, and they should be given this opportunity, I would say.
So, but the problem is, for example, if after 4 months there's a woman and she feels she's getting depressed, there are some things between a couple, she's not able to manage her mental health, and she wants to abort her child. Now, in order to do this, she needs to get the authority from some random people and go and speak out a thing she should be talking to a therapist or in seclusion to her Lord. And now she has to tell them and convince them that, please, I understand, I don't want to have. And they will say, are you maybe a patient of depression? Is it life-threatening? No, then you can have the child. So the question here is of authority, that instead of some judges, some other people, shouldn't the authority lie with the mother who is carrying the child, the woman who is to take care of it for 9 months until its death, instead of the judges?
I think personally, my opinion is that the decision should be based on a doctor's information. If the doctor says that the child that you're carrying could result in your own death because of such and such a case, then it is imperative that abortion should take place. Less than that, for any other reason, I think, because you see, human life is in question. A human life is like you just cannot take a human life. So, as a precautionary measure, I would say anything less than life-threatening situations, which might not be able to diagnose because I'm not a doctor. So, I will ask a couple of doctors. I might consult more than one doctor so that I can come to an opinion. But if I find this opinion that the life of the mother is at stake, and I'm the mother maybe, or maybe I'm the husband, or maybe I'm the father of whoever I am. But so the decision should be taken on the advice or the information provided by the doctor. So that is how I would approach.
So now, as I said, we're not talking about life-threatening situations. Just the mother doesn't feel herself, woman doesn't feel herself psychologically ready or willing to bring the fetus into this world. So now she needs to consult doctors, and first she has to convince the doctors that I'm not psychologically ill, but I don't feel it in myself that I can be a mother, I'm ready to be it.
So you see, in such a situation, because if she ends up not consulting anyone, for example, and she goes by her own self, then she has to understand that she is now undertaking the very horrific, I would say, job of killing a living being that she's carrying. I mean, yes, depression, yes, so many other things, they are worth being accounted for. They must be taken into consideration. But when you have a child, I mean, it's like a child who's outside the mother's womb. It is as if the child is of the same category because now it's a child. So you just cannot go about, I think it's not a valid excuse or a valid ground, I would say, that you terminate a pregnancy after 4 months simply because you are, giving full regard that depression and all these things have a very huge weight in our lives, but that's not enough to take a human life. So that is how I understand that human life has to be valued. You have this leverage before 4 months. I mean, you can have all that leverage. But once that happens, I think it should be taken as a trial from God. A lot of things happen because of taking bad decisions. But once the things get out of hand and you are not able to do that, it should be taken as a challenge in life. It should be taken as a decision that has been made somehow. And you just cannot reverse it because that would be tantamount to killing a living being.
So this is a very heavy charge if you're killing a living being, a living soul. But to terminate the fetus, instead of judges or someone else, should this not be the decision of the woman who is carrying the child?
Of course. And not only the woman, I think it's the father as well. So it's like the couple.
But the main say, yes. Now there's a conflict, the father should be consulted, but the main say should be of someone who is carrying the
I think that is valid as well.
Now, for example, if it's not a life-threatening situation, there's a couple, they're going. Now, if the woman comes to know husband is cheating on her, he comes to know that even he gambles, he drinks, he's got into these bad habits, and she knows that if I bring this child, it's been 4 months, this fetus into this world, as a child, as a human being, what's going to happen? He's going to hate me for bringing him in the first place. His father cannot provide for his economic needs. His mental health is going to be awfully messed up and everything. And she cannot just go out, especially in a society like Pakistan, and tell her private stuff that my husband is cheating on me, so I want to terminate the fetus. There are so many complications going on. And she decides that knowing the law of Allah and everything, that these are the risks that my child can face if the fetus develops into a human being, so I want to terminate it. In that case, now again she has to go to the lawyers, she has to go to the court and everything due to a criminalized law and request them that I am carrying a fetus and please tell me if I can make a decision for that or not.
So as I said, I mean, whether the decision is given to her or not, I think there is a graver question that she has to justify before God. That let's suppose that she's given the decision and she has a free flow in this, that she can take a decision. Then she has to ask this question to her conscience that yes, I have been given the prerogative to take a decision. What should I do? I mean, I'm going to kill a living being. So my contention is that even if that happens, that she has total carte blanche, she has a total leverage to take that decision. Is that decision something which is justified? That is the question.
I think that maybe, in my personal opinion, that this is something that is very personal. That is something between man and God. The main thing which I want to discuss is that why does the authority of a woman, a mother terminating her fetus, lies in the hand of some judges who honestly, most of judges are men. They have no idea what a woman goes through, her mentality, her hormones, everything. And she has to open up to them and convince them by opening up her private life, violating everything, her self-respect, that please allow me.
So you see, they have to understand another aspect. A state authority, I mean, whether these are judges, whether these are whatever forums you would call them, the thing is that when you go to a public clinic where you need to abort and the time has passed, so because of the fact that it's like killing a human being and a state has the authority to stop the killing of a human being, so my personal opinion is that whatever the forum, if this comes, I mean, one is that no one knows. And you are yourself a decider, maybe your husband, and you do something, then you have to reckon the whole thing before God. But if it is something that you have to go to a public clinic to get aborted, for that you need that certificate that, well, the 4 months have not passed. I think it would be extremely valid if this question is asked that, have you passed that 4-month period? Because now, if they're allowing that pregnancy, I mean, that termination, then they would be accomplices to that whole, I would call it a crime, because you're like killing a living being. So you're an accomplice, you become an accomplice in this matter because you're now performing the whole act for that lady. So if that law is made, I would be in favor of it. So you see, they have to understand that whatever extreme circumstances you face, human life cannot be touched. That is how I understand it.
Okay, but why can't we see this in a more subjective form? For example, if we see faith. Now, we are Muslims, so that we believe that after 4 months, the fetus is given a state of a human being. If somebody is an atheist, she has a different belief. If someone is a Catholic, he has a different belief. So just like this, that if I am a Muslim, so this is basically my subjective opinion that fetus is a human, and I cannot prove it because I cannot show anyone with toes that, look, this is the Lord and these are the laws. I cannot perform an X-ray or a PET scan and show the soul.
You see, in such a situation, when you have a different opinion, so that changes the complexion of the whole question. I am talking specifically when we're talking about people who believe in this, who think that organic mass becomes a living being. So people who believe in that, let's say a state also legislates because it believes that this is how it happens, then we have no choice. But however, if people have a different opinion, they think that even after 4 months, I mean, the child is not a child, it's still in a growth stage, and therefore, if they abort it, it would not be equal to killing a life. For example, fine. I mean, I would argue with them. I would have a discussion with them. But then now, at least they have a basis. At least they think that if they're doing something, in their opinion, they're not killing someone. It's still a debatable question to them. So that's another different scenario.
So then here I would like to conclude this session with a question that humanizing a fetus and then giving authority of state to determine that whether it can be terminated or not, instead of the individual who is carrying it, along with that individual's personal beliefs, who can be Christian, Jewish, atheist, or Muslims. Is it fair to snatch this personal right which the Lord has given when He's, as for example, we are having your own soul, so it is us that we sell it to the devil, or I become atheist, or I sell it in the way of the Lord? No judge can ask and question me because this soul is given to me to take care of. I do good or bad, this is up to me. So just like that, is it fair to restrict a woman?
So you see, what is the issue is that if she's doing something on her own, maybe she's terminating the pregnancy in her own home, whether she's a doctor and she does it herself, then that is between herself and God. But when you're involving a hospital, when you are involving a clinic, so now they are doing something for you. So you've hired them for doing something. And if they believe that this is not justified, so what will they do? Either they'll refrain from doing it, or maybe they will advise you that this is not the right thing to do. I think this is something that they have. Because you see, if I feel personally that I am crossing my limits and taking a life, so that is where I would stop, because that was how I would feel uncomfortable. But if the woman thinks that is something that is justified, then, I mean, she should do something on her own in which there is not a third party involved, because that third party, if has a different belief that I am going to be an accomplice in taking the life, then I think it's fair to see that they also should be given the freedom to not indulge in this.
But if, for example, the state does not restrict a woman and the hospitals to terminate the fetus, now if she goes to as we have Islamic bankings and non-Islamic banking system, she goes to a hospital and they say, no, this is not part of our policy. She's not been taken the right from her, and she can then find hospitals which are ready to terminate the fetus. So now she doesn't have to go and beg for people and exploit her privacy.
She does not need to do that. I mean, this is now her personal decision. She'll have to justify.
But this is only in case the state withdraws.
Of course,
this
because
thing.
now we have private. That is how it has happened in the West. So there were state laws. Because those state laws restricted abortion, so they had private clinics in which all kinds of operations would be performed, and people would do what they would wanted to do. So the question here is that it's not the issue of decision making; it's basically the issue of the woman realizing that she should be satisfied in her conscience that she's not taking a life.
Yes, and once she's satisfied with her conscience, she also gets the power to execute it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you so much, Dr. Saleem.
That's very welcome.